Welcome back. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. I'm pleased to have with us book author Bob Sullivan, book author of Gotcha Capitalism, How Hidden Fees Rip You Off Every Day and What You Can Do About It. Bob, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Listen, Bob, without a doubt, this is a fantastic book, and there are a lot of stealth-like fees out there that we really, as consumers, have to watch out for, at least be aware of. What brought you to write this book?
Well, I do this blog called the Red Tape Chronicles for MSNBC.com, which actually started right after Hurricane Katrina. I was writing about victims there struggling with credit reports and getting aid from FEMA.
Yeah.
And every time I did one of those stories, I was hit with a tidal wave of comments from people all around the country saying, you know, what about us? We're getting cheated by all these folks too. And frankly, since then, all these stories have written themselves.
Right. It's amazing how, and I was in the retail business for years and years, and I always stayed away from nickel and dime and the customer. But when you get into these larger national, even if not worldwide corporations that offers products and services, that's part of their business, isn't it?
It absolutely is. In the banking industry, for example, now there are banks that make more of their profits from fees than from interest charges.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, I mean, that turns their whole business model on its head.
Right. I mean, they discovered, what was it, maybe 10, 12 years ago, that, hey, there is actually good money to be made in these fees.
Yeah. Well, there were a couple of things that happened. One was they discovered that there was good money in it, but also Supreme Court decisions paved the way for, especially with the credit cards, for fees to not be considered interest charges, so they didn't have to be disclosed in the way that interest charges do, and so they could basically get away with murder.
Yes, sneaky little workarounds, what I call them.
That's right.
All right, now what's probably the most infamous type of fee that you get out there? I know a lot of people complain about cellular phone companies and service that with the contracts that you can't get out of and renewals. Right. What would it be?
Well, they charge fees for getting out of your contract. They charge fees for getting a new contract even. There's something now called a handset upgrade fee. So even if you stay with your company and get a new phone and follow the deal, 2 months later, they'll charge you $36 for supposedly the back-end work you do. There's lots of those. I mean, cell phone companies are probably the thing that irritates people the most day to day. But far beyond that are the fees that are associated with folks' retirement accounts. I mean, there's a long explanation for this that I have in the book, but in the short version, 401k, the funds that are in there, most of them will charge between 1% and 2% in expense ratios every year. And that means that the average 30-year-old who's investing for retirement is going to be out about 1/3 of the money they should have at retirement. It's all instead going to Wall Street hidden fees.
Right. All right. That's very good to know. All right. Now, let's talk about the middle class squeeze. And do fees really affect the middle class that much, or is it just slowly bleeding the middle class away as far as these hidden fees are concerned?
Well, two things. One, I can tell you there is no one in any bank in America who has a checking account with $75,000 in it who pays overdraft fees.
Right.
These fees are directed right at people who live on that edge, who are trying to make do for month to month. And the second that they fall or a check is a weekend late or something, gotcha, the bank grabs you for the extra money. But we're not talking about nickels and dimes. I did a survey for the book, and we found that the average American loses close to $1,000 a year in these nickels and dimes, and that does not include big purchases like cars or homes or retirement. So that's a lot of money.
So here we go. It comes back to that's good money for these guys, for these corporations.
Yeah, they make a ton of money. The banks collected $17 billion with a B, $17 billion just in overdraft fees last year.
That's huge. All right, now, see, I'm not against, to me, Bob, profit is not a dirty word. I don't have a problem with profit because, my cellular company, they have to make money today if they're going to be in business tomorrow and provide me with a service. But are we talking about here something that's just really too much? As far as these overdraft fees?
I wouldn't even say that large profits are a dirty word, but I would say deceptive profits are.
Okay.
And not only are they cheating people individually, but I think they're cheating our system, which really bothers me, because look at what's happened here. I defy anyone to try to compare the real price of a cell phone and a cell phone plan.
Right.
It just becomes a nightmare to do. And so what happens, people just give up and they get whatever. And so the whole reward mechanism for capitalism, which is supposed to reward the best companies with the best products and the most efficient ideas and the best employees, instead we're rewarding the best cheaters. And that's gumming up our system, and that's one reason why we're no longer leading. We don't have the best cell phone service in the world because we don't have to provide customer service.
And I think the cell phone companies, they really complicate these. I mean, they say their plans are so easy, but in the end, they're really complicated plans. And how does a consumer go out there and try to try to compare one cell phone service and company against another. It's just almost difficult to do.
Yeah, I call this the death of the price tag.
Okay.
And it's literally happened in grocery stores around America. There's no price tags anymore on items.
Right.
But when you get an ad for cable service, so you watch late-night television and you see ads, the numbers they say things cost, they're just meaningless. And the bad part about that is, again, not only are we deceiving people, but when there's no price tags, there's no price transparency. The market economy doesn't work. It's a broken market.
So much for truth in advertising. I want to switch over to the rebate game. That's really a joke. I hate rebates. I get the emails that say you can get it for $139, and then when you get to the website, it's actually $179 with a $40 rebate. Forget about getting a rebate. I mean, some people, after time, they just forget about the rebates that never get paid on.
40%, 4 in 10 of all rebates are not redeemed. So, whenever you're in the store and you're tempted to buy something because of the rebate, just say no. It's not worth it. Or there are some companies now, because there's been so much protest about rebates. Staples is one they've refined the rebate process so they make it very easy, and some of them will even give it to you right there in the store. So,
that's what I
look for that.
That's what I say. I want instant rebate. If you're going to offer me a rebate, I want instant rebate. I want it at the store level, and let the store deal with the rebate company or with whoever accountability that they have to have with whoever it may be. Let the store deal with it. I don't want to as a consumer.
Here's one tip for people out there listening right now that have a rebate they can't track down. Go to the store and ask for it after the fact. There's a recent FTC ruling, which is not crystal clear, unfortunately, but it's clear enough. It shows that they cannot pass you off to the rebate center and say, we're not responsible. The store that actually sold you the product is responsible largely for giving you that rebate, so you can get some satisfaction there.
That's absolutely fantastic. That's good information. How do we find inexpensive legal help? We all can't afford high-priced attorneys. Where do you find it?
It's very hard to do, frankly. I try to do a little bit of that in the book. I have these sample letters and sample telephone scripts that invoke some rights, like how to get a creditor off your back or how to get a refund from a hotel company. Those, by the way, without buying the book, my publisher gets mad at me when I say this, but you can download the letters for free from the website if you want to just get started on some of this stuff. The website's Capitalism.com. But there are legal aid services in a lot of big cities, too, and you can go there and often get some pretty good help.
All right, that's awesome. And our listeners and viewers, they like free, Bob.
Of course, everyone does. By the way, don't overlook your Attorney General's office either. There's good lawyers in their Consumer Affairs division there who will help you for free as well.
All right, so we got local. We at the minimum go to the local side and then maybe go up to the feds if they have to.
The Federal Trade Commission has a lot of complaints, and
they're busy. Forget about it.
I mean, it's worth filling out the form so at least they have it in their database somewhere. But don't expect to get a quick turnaround from the FTC or certainly not the FCC if it's a phone company. Go to your Attorney General instead.
All right. So go to local level, much better. You probably get a response almost for sure.
And you have to elect them. And almost every Attorney General in the country that I know is running for governor. So they want to get on your good side.
That's right. All right. Now let's go into something else here. What are some other surprising ways that companies will cheat somebody out? We got probably about 3 minutes or less.
Oh my goodness, I don't know where to begin. But we've been through groceries and we've been through cell phones and cable. But I think the other thing is credit cards, which are the biggest problem for folks. And every 6 months or so, the credit card industry invents some new ways to get you. So here's some things to watch out for. Most folks think they have a credit limit on their credit cards. It's a lie. There's no such thing. That's just a fee trigger. So if you spend more than your credit limit on your credit card, your transaction will not be denied like you think it might. Instead, they'll just charge you a fee called an over-limit fee, so watch for that. It's very similar to what happens at ATMs. If your balance is at zero or negative, you might think the ATM will say you don't have any money. Instead, they'll give you the money, and they'll charge you an overdraft charge. And the same thing with shopping with a debit card. You'll think you can't. You'll think the transaction will be declined, but it will actually be approved, and you'll just get hit with this really big fee. A lot of folks end up with $300 or $400 in charges just over the weekend through these kinds of tricks, and mostly they're trying to confuse you about what money is available to you.
And some of those they won't hit you until the next business day. So you could be loving life on the weekend, and then before you know it, you're way in the negative come Monday.
Very common. You might put a check in the bank even on a Thursday and think that you're covered. And I've heard people walk in and ask a teller, and teller says, "Yeah, the money's here." But it actually hasn't cleared, and sometimes the ATMs actually will lie to you about your balance. So you might even ask for a balance. It might say your balance is $500, but that's actually not the money you have in the account. That's what's called your available balance, which is the money that you have plus overdraft protection that they've given you. So it actually, in some ways, can encourage you to overdraw your accounts. You really want to watch for that.
Can you come back to the bank and say, listen, this is what it said, and this is what I thought it said, and if you know your banker or not, they may or may not refund that fee, correct?
Well, that's you're at their mercy at that point. Some people have luck that way, especially if they don't ask for it too often and if they're longtime customers. And as you mentioned, if you walk in and talk to them in person, I definitely recommend trying that. And in general, I really recommend to people that they complain and don't put up with this stuff. But in a lot of cases, you are at the mercy of the company.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. All right, give us that website address once again, Bob.
Sure, it's gotchacapitalism.com, like the name of the book.
Yeah.
And you can order the book there from Amazon. It's actually a pretty good discount from Amazon.
Nice.
Or just download the letters for free, like I said, and hopefully get started saving some money.
All right, gotchacapitalism.com, gotchacapitalism.com. Head on over to Bob's site today. And, of course, head out to your favorite bookstore, Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, your local bookstore. They're all going to have it. They sell books. They got this book. Bob, thanks for being on Traders Nation.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
You're more than welcome. Bob Sullivan, author of Gotcha Capitalism. And we'll be right back. Stay tuned.